Hello and welcome back to the Boro Breakdown Podcast with Jonny, Dana and Tom. We are the Boro podcast that gives you all of your Boro matchday chatter in a podcast. And Boro defeated Derby to move back into the second place in the championship table with 33 points. And we're here to discuss just that and, of course, your podcast questions and maybe a trip to a certain island. So let's kick things off with Derby win then, because Boro went behind just after a minute with Patrick Adjiman opening the scoring for Derby before Matt Targett and Morgan Whittaker against his former club gave Kim Hellberg his first win as Boro boss. Guys, how would you summarise Boro's win yesterday?
You know what? I'm not going to come on here and lie about it. I wasn't a big fan of Boro's performance, particularly in the first half. I said to you guys, it's probably the least enjoyable half football I've seen from Boro this season. And I say that because I just think it was very disjointed, very disconnected. I think a lot of our players just weren't on the same wavelength. And I think we also looked very susceptible at the back as well. As soon as we lost the ball, we were scaling back and my arse was twitching, in all honesty. But in fairness, I will say that perspective is needed because Kim Hellberg had only taken 2 training sessions, I think, in the build-up to this game. There's a lot of newness, him included, so new manager, new style. I think we saw certain hallmarks of Kim Hellberg's way of playing football, and we'll get onto that later. But also, like, you look at our left-hand side, you've got Sonchi Hansen, who hasn't started a game since Portsmouth away 2 international breaks ago, and then Alex Bangura, who hasn't kicked a ball for Boro since the very final game of the 2023-24 season in which he scored against Watford. So, yeah, it was always going to be one of those games where I think we were probably meant to see a few teething issues, and I think we did see that. But credit to Boro in the second half, they were much better. And in fairness to Derby, they just offered nothing. Just zeros across the board in terms of shots on target. And I think Malcolm Christie put a tweet on Twitter just saying that they had completed the fewest amount of passes from any championship team all season in that game. And a lot of that was owing to their second half performance, which was just absolute dog. But yeah, it was more about the result for me. Big result, imperative that Boro got that win because Ipswich lost and so did Stoke. So we managed to get ourselves back into second place position, and that's what it was all about at the end of the day. I do have a Derby fan perspective on the game. My former driving instructor, Melv Mole. Should we hear from the race across the world participant?
Morning, Middlesbrough fans. Well, that was a game of 2 halves, wasn't it? First half, I think Derby County should have maybe been 2 up by the break. I think we totally dominated that first half. Second half, it was a totally different story, wasn't it? I think Middlesbrough totally dominated us, and Derby County just ran out of steam in the end. I think maybe the substitutions could have happened a little bit sooner for us. And it just had to be, didn't it? An ex-Forest player and an ex-Derby trainee scoring the goals against us. Anyway, that's life. Up the Rams.
Good old Melv.
I did tell him to say it. I did tell him to say up the Boro, but yeah.
I was going to say what I loved about that as well. By the way, it was just like the goat and slash like sheep sounds that were going on in the background as well. I thought it really added to Melv. But I was going to say if you haven't seen Melvin Race Around the World on the BBC, do go and watch it. It is a really good series. And for him I was really rooting for him as well. But there was a couple of some really good
I haven't watched it since, I think... I haven't watched the last 2 episodes, so the last time that I watched it, he was winning. So in my opinion, he won. And I'm going to say that anyway, because, well, he was my driving instructor. And he did get me passing my test, so that's a miracle within itself.
Yeah, so if you want a driving instructor in the Middlesbrough area and you want to have a celebrity do it, then Mel's your guy. Then I'll have that £20.
He's not taking bookings anymore.
I'm joking. Tom, how would you summarise things as well?
Yeah, kind of similar. To be honest, I'll preface it by saying it was really, really good win. You got to be happy with the results, and I think there were some positives to take out of it. in particular, the kind of mental toughness and togetherness of the players. I think we've seen that a few times this season where we have had to come from behind, and we almost did it on Tuesday as well. So I think that's a good quality for the squad to have. In terms of the first half performance, I hated it. To be honest,
Same.
I conceding that goal after 90 seconds, and there was so many things wrong with that goal. I mean, starting from Hansen not challenging for the ball, which could have held it up a little bit. The fact that the goal looked like it came straight out of Score Heroes and someone was just drawing the lines, and that overheads, that kind of flick on from Derby's other striker. I was like, yeah, that's straight out of Score Hero, that, and then it's put it right into the path of Aguiman for the goal. Alfie Jones was the wrong side of him. We've got the high line, which I thought kind of undid us there. And in the first half, I was sat there thinking, I was really quite hopeful with Hellberg's first interview, where he kind of acknowledged that it was an odd situation, taking charge of a team that's second/third in the league at that time, and it was going to be the matter of building on what had worked for us and implementing certain bits of his own style, and he was probably going to be doing it gradually. I thought, yep, that's the way to go. And then it just seemed like playing the high line in the first half was a bit of a departure from that at times. And I think, especially from talking to Jason on the from the Rams Review podcast on our opposition preview show and on theirs the other day, where he kind of said their plan's likely going to be to soak up the pressure and hit us on the counter-attack. As soon as they scored 90 seconds in, I was like, that's probably the worst possible time that we could have conceded, because they had just gone to sit back, soak things up for the entire match now, and hit us on the break. And I thought they looked dangerous quite a few times going forward in the first half. There was a period where I think it was about 4, 5, 6 corners in a row, and I was like, God, we can't get out of our own box here. I thought a second was coming at that point. Then second half, we come out, and it did just seem like quite a few factors being in play. We were better. Derby were. They did look like they were tiring. There was one point where it was Brereton Diaz, and he was tracking back trying to cover. It was either Whittaker or Britton. No, sorry, I'm other side. He was trying to cover Bangura in the first half, I think it was, and he looked like he was blowing out his arse then. So, God knows how they were all getting on towards the end of the game. But yeah, they looked like they were tiring. We were on top. You look at the stats after the game, and it would just suggest that we absolutely dominated it and kind of blew them away. But I was quite nervy up until we got the goal on the 70-minute mark, around then, and after that it was like, can we go on and get another? I did think we'd had our big chance with Bangura's cross into Britain, which as well, I had Bangura assist on my bet, so I was gutted about that. But yeah, overall, you've got to be happy with the win, got to be happy with the 3 points, but there are still things to work on there. And I think especially if we're bringing in some kind of new concepts to the team, we've got just under a week until the next game. I think it's probably, in the run of games coming up, it's going to be one of the bigger chances to get some significant time on the training ground and implement these ideas. Hopefully we can see them a little bit more polished against Hull.
Yeah, and I think to round things off, I think on my side, I'll be honest, I disagree. I didn't hate the performance. I didn't hate it at all. I think their goal, I think context is needed massively because it comes from our goal kick. We hit it long, and then obviously you're absolutely right, Tom, that Janssen doesn't win that when that header. Sanderson does really well. That header goes in between Hackney and Brown, and then when Salverson gets the ball, I think everyone expects him to chest it down and play through to Diaz, and then Diaz to knock it through. But when he knocks it straight over the head, and then Ajman does really well, and there's just like a really small detail in this where when he gets side by side to Jones, he just puts his arm across and just nudges himself in front, exactly what you should do, and then goes and runs through and scores. So for me, I don't really disagree with that. I think I don't really agree that it was a high line. When we're kicking the ball long, you want to be high because that's where the ball's going to be if it's long. And then for us as well, I don't think we're playing as high as probably Hellberg would want us to be, but it was still a little bit higher than what it has been previously. And then I think just the performance-wise, Middlesbrough looked like a team who had just been taken over by a manager this week and only had 2 games to prepare. You're going to have difficulties in terms of implementing change, and also he'll never keep things fully the same because he's not Rob Edwards. So nothing will be the same in terms of context. He'll ask the team and go, what have we been doing? He'll ask the staff, okay, Eddie, what were the concepts? What were we trying to implement? He'll do those little things, but he'll want to have his own stamp on things. But yesterday, I thought he set us up to die in on us. I think...
honestly, I've got the lurgy from somewhere.
Thought Dan was going to die on me. But I just think with the way he set us up, very simple. Play it in a 4-4-2, 4-2-2-2, and just try and find spaces and get the ball out wide and get the ball in the box and win it in a certain space. But we'll come on to that in just a little bit. But I didn't hate the performance. I thought at halftime we were going to go and win the game. I thought we shown enough. And one final point is I thought when Derby scored in the first minute, I think it was the worst thing that could happen to them, to be honest, because they had something to hold on to, but then they had nothing since. So to defend for long periods and spells, I think they just give the game to Boro, to be honest. But I'll come on to Derby in just a moment too. But Tom, we made 4 changes to the side that lost to Coventry earlier in the week with Target, Bangura, Bergsorg and Hansen coming in for Ayling, Morris, who missed the squad completely, and Silvera and McGree came out as well. And then Bangura's first start since January 2024. Dana alluded to it. It was their first real starts after a period of time out the squad. But how do you think they did specifically on that left-hand side?
I thought they did really well. Bangura specifically was man of the match for me yesterday. I honestly thought that was a fantastic performance from him and looked like he'd never been away. I did kind of always have a worry with Bangura yesterday that he was going to pull up after a sprint or something like that. And I think I only saw him on the floor once. He was kind of stretching out his calf. I was like, oh, God, please don't let that be it. Honestly, protect him at all costs. Put him in bubble wrap for the rest of the week and just let him play next week because he gives us a little bit more of a natural threat on that left-hand side. I think especially when you're playing with Bergsorg and Whittaker in the team, and they're constantly kind of wanting to come inside, you do want the full-backs to overlap and get those crosses in. And I do think Bangura does that a lot more effectively than Target or Silvera. So he played well. Hansen, other than obviously not challenging for that header in the first minute or so, which was infuriating to watch, but I thought he did really well. He was picking the ball up in good spaces. He was beating his man a lot, and I think that is something that we've lacked as a team. We've kind of lacked the take your man on, be direct, and try and carve out your own pockets of space to create something. I was, disappointed to see him go off injured in the second half, and hopefully he's not going to be out for too long with that. Because, I thought bringing him in, knowing that he's never really kind of played a full 90 for us yet, and dropping McGree might have needed a rest, to be fair, but I did think that was a bit of a brave decision when the lineup came out. But I would argue that did pay off in terms of Hansen making an impact.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on Bangura as well, Tom. I think he really shone glimpses yesterday of what he could potentially offer us on that left-hand side. I spoke a little bit around Bangura when I did the Kim Hellberg joins Middlesbrough video, and I just said that he would offer us something a little bit different on that left-hand side, someone who's much more direct, a lot more pacier, and someone who can get in behind as well, because my initial thought, and I still think this as well, that if we do play Strelic in that 9 role, he's someone who can just drop him a little bit more, play the ball through to say one of the 10s like a Sonny Jansen or a Whittaker or a McGree or an Epan, whoever play there, and then they get that ball out wide to the wing back who can really knock that ball into the box. But it was interesting watching him yesterday, inverting into the midfield, also going out wide as well. Some really nice rotations here and there. But for me, we'll come on to Bangura probably a little bit later on as well in terms of where I think we should be putting him in a certain place. And yeah, for me, I was really, really delighted for him. I think that probably meant a lot to him as well, the yesterday performance. But then I don't know if you've got anything on Bangura as well. I know Tom, you alluded to it as well, but I just wanted to touch on it then. Is there anything that stood out for you yesterday?
Yeah, I think it's just having somebody that can overlap, and not only overlap, like get to the byline. Like that Callum Britton chance that hit the crossbar, and I was thinking, oh my God, I was celebrating that like an idiot. I thought that the GDS would have been like, goal, and I was like, get in, but no, it didn't. You saw the replay and it was on the line. But that came from a cutback, and there was another one in the first half as well where I think that's a really dangerous avenue for us. And I do say that having noted that we have scored from high crosses this season, like Luke Ayling against Leicester, and then Hayden Hackney scored against Birmingham from a header as well, didn't he? So from a cross into the box. So there's scope for Boro to score from high crosses as well. But I just think out of the two of them, I'd much prefer us to put cutbacks into the box, and Bangura was good with that yesterday, as you said, playing on the inside of Hansen and then on the outside of him as well, just adding a different dimension, adding a bit of pace and width and directness. And especially in that 4-2-2-2, you need your your fullbacks to push on and provide that width, because it is quite a narrow formation, isn't it? So it was good to see Bangura. I've really wanted to see Bangura maintain fitness. Well, firstly regain fitness and then maintain it. And much like Tom, I was thinking, oh God, can Bangura get past 15 minutes? And I guess it was just little increments of 15 minutes. Can you get through them? And he did. And the fact that he played the whole game as well, by the way, I thought, like, before the match, as soon as I saw him starting, I was like, well, he'll be the first sub off. Like, he'll be the first substitution, probably like 55 minutes. When he got to like 60, I was like, wow, he's doing really well. So massive credit to him. I can't imagine how mentally tough it was when he came back in pre-season and then got injured again, like a massive setback. Not the only Boro player that's endured that. Darrell Lenihan is another one, and Riley McGree is another one. So we've got players that have unfortunately hit really bad injury trails, and it's just good. It's good when they come back, and especially when they perform the way that Alex Bangura did yesterday. It was brilliant, and he had his moment with the South Stand as well after the game. Kim Hellberg also had his moment with the South Stand, but he rather botched it, didn't he? Did you see that? He only gave it one fist pump, and he said after the game that Callum Britton gave him a bit of stick for that. But he did redeem himself, because he was kind of chanting along with Boro, and he gave it a good go there.
I think that was for consolation, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he just, he's
Maybe
like,
he was
you know
embarrassed.
what? I've messed up. I think he's a bit of an introvert, and I think he just wanted to keep to himself and enjoy the win. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't really seen the salutes, then yeah, I mean, the one salute, maybe it's just the Hellberg salute, just one fist bump and then everyone cheers together. But Tom,
just like how he got booed after that, like proper panto villain in that moment.
He only needs one. He's efficient.
That's sweet. That's Swedish, that's Swedish culture, But was there anything else to round it off?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make a point about Bangura being selected, and not necessarily in regards to his performance, but I was listening to Hellberg's interview after the game, where he was kind of saying about Bangura and saying he's impressed me in the couple of training sessions that we've had and stuff like that. Going back to, I think it might have been Vivash's last press conference that he did, or maybe he'd done like a post-match interview where he'd been asked about him or something. I know the Gazette had reported it. He was kind of saying, yeah, it's not ideal for him to have been on the bench. Ideally, we would have liked him to get some like under 21s minutes, but he's on the bench out of necessity, not necessarily fully fit to play. And it kind of does tie in with what we've seen over the last few years, especially under Michael Carrick, where we've had these kind of injury crises and they've gone on for quite a while. And there's been this kind of slow reintegration into the team where, we probably could do with these players, but we've been kind of really cautious. And I do wonder if this is maybe like a little bit of a turn away from that, where we're going to look at being less cautious, and we can kind of take the opinion of the medical staff, but also the players and the coaches, and be like, can this player get through 90 minutes? If he can, he's going to be important to the team. We'll bring him back. It's maybe not ideal to bring him back right at this moment, but it would be better for the team if he was. So I did think that was interesting yesterday, how we kind of got the start without any kind of build up to it in terms of even like sub appearances or under 21s games or anything, but he did really well. So now I am kind of wondering, is the kind of slow integration we've been seeing over the last few seasons, was that always absolutely necessary?
Well, we do have games behind closed doors quite regularly as well. So I know we have a season where we play about 46 games and cup games. But there's a number of games as well where teams will come and we may play lesser league opposition or a team that's in our division and still have those games. Managers will always try and have those because of just trying to understand teams and necessities, or to stop like long breaks. So during the international break, you might find that there could be like a Boro 11 versus someone else. So he might have featured. And I know we said when Rob Edwards left, that Bangura might just appear like Joe Hendry, and he has. And hopefully, fingers crossed now that it will continue, because there is a player there. He is someone who I think we can potentially rely on. And when we first came as well, I thought we were really excited by him. So fingers crossed for his sake as well, and for ours, that he continues with performances like that. But just want to move on to some observations from the match yesterday. Dana, Boro dominated possession, 76% at the end of it. You could have said it was 100% possession in that second half, because Derby didn't really touch much of it, to be honest. But did you feel that Boro could break them down at all? Because there was a bus behind a bus behind a bus at points.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I doubted it. And the reason I doubted it is because whenever we put balls into the box, all I saw was Matt Clark's big bald head connecting with it and heading it out. And that's what we saw of Matt Clark at Boro. Like, he's a brute defender. Yeah, he can play as well, but he's somebody that's going to put his head where it hurts. And I just thought that at times Boro played into their hands a little bit with that. So I doubted it because of that. And also, I think Boro's quality wasn't really there for a lot of the game. But because of our territorial and possession dominance in the second half, and the fact that we had on the pitch, we added to the pitch Strelic and Nipan and McGree and Sen, I just thought, okay, we've brought these players on, surely personnel quality will get us through this match. And to be fair, like, the goals that we scored, the set piece goals, the first one, I mean, they just leave target alone. He has about 3 yards on the nearest Derby player, and that's why he gets such elevation on his jump, because he has like a whole runway basically to run towards that. And that was a brilliant header. When that went in, it was because I was really frustrated during that match. It was just this outpouring of emotion with the big backdrop of frustration, because I just thought that, as I mentioned, Boro's quality just wasn't quite there in that match, in my opinion. And then with the second one, I mean, the script was written for Morgan Whittaker, wasn't it? Like, them calling him a Derby reject and all that. You would think that Derby County fans would not be so lippy, considering it's win, 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 win for Boro when they come to the Riverside. It's just classic Derby County. They're a bunch of gobshites, and a lot of the time when Boro meet them, we win a lot of the time. So remember that, because we'll probably lose against them at Pride Park. But yeah, 3 goals in 3 games for Morgan Whittaker, our top scorer on 5. He worked on that, and I think we've got to give him credit. He said after the match he worked on that, putting the ball into that corner and hoping that either it would go in, as it did, or someone would get a touch on it, and massive credit to him for that. But honestly, I did doubt it. I did. I'm just glad that I was proved wrong, because as soon as we got that equaliser, you saw the players go back to the halfway line. They knew that they could get a goal. And after that, when we made it 1-1, that's when I believed that we could get another one.
Yeah, honestly, it always felt like if we got one, we'd get 2 in that game. And I mean, the people who sit next to me in the North Stand could vouch for me for that, because that's all I was just yapping on about for ages. But it just felt that once we just unlocked everything Derby just didn't have anything in that second half to really come back to us on. And, it feels like a little bit like football terrorism, to be honest. And I will come on to Derby in just a moment. But, Tom, Boro, you can argue maybe it's a set piece, I would say, from Whittaker as well. But that means we've got 8 set piece goals this season. Are you enjoying that Boro are finding different ways to win a football match now? Because under Mike Carrick, it was very much open play. Now set pieces starting to come more into the mix.
Yeah, I mean, we're finally proving Mr. Carly Dean's prophecy right from like over 10 years ago now, aren't we? We finally can be characterized as a set piece team. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that we're scoring from them, and there's always a possibility, I think, when we go for a corner or a free kick now, that we're going to at least test the keeper. I think even the free kicks that we're getting outside the box, where we are now looking to shoot rather than trying to like find that little lofted ball into the box, which, let's face it, Matt Clark probably would have cleared yesterday. But yeah, we had like 3 from outside the box yesterday. Matt Target had 2 and Morgan Whittaker had 1. All of them, well, the first one didn't really test the keeper. It was straight at him, but it was on target. And then
the
other 2 did to an extent. I think when we've got corners now, because I've seen us score a few of them, I am kind of fairly positive, even though I know it generally is kind of like not. I'm not going to say not a high XG chance on a corner, but you don't see a lot of success with corners in general. So yeah, the fact that we're able to kind of put those chances away now, I think it is just another kind of string to our bow, so to speak. And I think to be a well-rounded team, you've got to have threats in different areas, and that can just be one of them.
Yeah, you aren't wrong, Tom, as well on the stats as well, because normally you'd be about over 90% of the time a set piece doesn't lead to a goal, which is a great stat. But now over like the last couple of seasons, we're seeing teams more and more utilize set pieces and become more successful in them, even with those long throws and with the corners. I mean, I tell you what, Tony Pulis must be loving it at the minute. The long throwing king of football is Mr. Pulis. But I just wanted to quickly touch on Derby just for a moment, because if I was a Derby fan yesterday, I'd be so frustrated with their performance. The way they count the blocks, they got the goal, and then you'd think that they'd really keep kicking on to win the football match. And they let Middlesbrough come back into the game yesterday. And if I was in the fans, I'd be hammering Eustace for this. And I'm not really sure why he decided to sit so deep in that second half and then delay his substitutions and then also not change things as well, because there was such a big gap on Middlesbrough's left-hand side. And you thought, well, you could maybe shift Ajiman over on that right-hand side if you wanted to, or at least try and put a substitution on there to at least give Middlesbrough a problem to think about it. But he gave Boro no problems in second half. He just went, you know what, I'm going to try and take a draw here that might equalise, and we'll just sit deeper and deeper and deeper. But the setup initially in that 4-3-3, really direct lines, just try and get the ball through. And it worked to them. But in that second half, it just felt like they had no answer. Boro didn't really change too much in that second half. They did nullify a little bit in terms of how they got out, but ultimately, like, I was really disappointed in Derby. I thought they were absolutely garbage second half. And if I was Eustace, I'd be looking at that and saying that is at least a point, or even all 3 that they've got away from. But they only got away with no points because there was 5 goal rings, 4 collar birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and Morgan Whittaker going into Shithouse Island. Yes, Morgan Whittaker, you are in Shithouse Island, my friend. Congratulations, you have got the ticket. So please enjoy it. The drinks are maybe free. If not, we'll find a tab somewhere. But then, why is Morgan Whittaker in Shithouse Island?
because he made a beeline straight for the Derby fans when he scored, of course. As soon as I saw him go towards there, I was like, perfect. It just had to be. It had to be him. He's knee sliding. Very good knee slide, by the way. The weather conditions were perfect for a knee slide. And then cupping his ears and just saying, what was that? Derby reject? It just, yeah, the script was written for him. And yeah, he's the first inductee to Shithouse Island for a while. See if you can spot him there. Where's Wally? Where's Whittaker? He's definitely in there, in and amongst it, cupping his ears. It was, it was a fantastic moment. And more of this, please. We had a whole season last season of just no shithousery. And we did up the stakes a little bit because we ran out of room on the island. But we've gone to a new island now. So can we see more shithousery from the Boro players, please? More evidential shithousery. So we need pictures, we need evidence so that we can stick it on the graphic. But yeah, Morgan Whittaker, welcome to Shithouse Island.
Congratulations, Morgan. Please do use some sun cream because the sun is baking over there. But if you're watching us on YouTube and have realised that we haven't given you the jingle, go and listen to it. The audio version will probably be on our audio version. So yeah, go and listen if you really want to listen to my really shit voice. So I want to just quickly touch on Morgan Whittaker because we did have a question on him from Dave from Canada, and he said, "What do you think of Morgan Whittaker's overall performances of late? And does it even matter if he keeps coming up with big goals?" 5 goals for Morgan Whittaker this season. You know, he's got 7 goal contributions as well, 3 and 3. Having a fantastic season this year. But guys, what have you made of his performances of late?
I think, to be fair, goals will speak loudly, won't they? And it's entirely possible that a player can have a garbage game and score, but a lot of the time the goals are what you focus on. But I think Whittaker, and I know we're not talking about the Coventry game, we could probably summarise that in a sentence by just saying that they're by far and wide the best team in the league. We lost, we move on. We usually lose to Coventry anyways. But Morgan Whittaker in that game on Tuesday night, I do think it's worth mentioning in the absence of a Coventry discussion, that he was really good. Even regardless of his goal, I think he was really good in that game. And I think he's just somebody that's improving. He wasn't as good yesterday as he was on Tuesday night. But still, I do think that we're seeing more from him. And that's all we've wanted to see, isn't it? It's taken a long time for Morgan Whittaker to show what he can do. But I think we're seeing it. Some good touches here and there. Some good moments where he's looking after the ball a little bit better. Of course, that still needs improvement. And I still think we need to see more from him. But I think he is improving. He's getting better and he looks confident as well. He just seems confident. The new manager, Kim Hellberg, coming in is a clean slate for Whittaker. He's had 3 Boro managers so far in his small time at the club. He's not even a year since he joined the club. So he's having to change and adjust, and I don't know how much that has an impact. And he came into the team under Michael Carrick that were underperforming and poor. They're on the slope down, weren't they? So I think you've got to maybe factor that in as well. But it's good to see that I think he's on the upward trend now, which is brilliant and fair play, because I said quite recently that in regards to Whittaker and BERG, I was just done with both of them and I didn't want to see them again, really. I just kind of wash our hands with them and maybe move them on in January. But, you know, Whittaker, I think, is been improving, and that's what we want to see.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. I really, really want to see him just hit one top bins at some point soon, because I think he's had a few chances. I think it might have been on Tuesday. He forced a really good save that looked like it was going towards the top corner. If not, it was the match before. But that is coming from the confidence that he has now. He did play really well on Tuesday. I thought him and Britton on that right-hand side at times were fantastic, and there was obviously like a really good link up between the pair of them at that point. Glad he got the goal yesterday and on Tuesday. And it's some turnaround from him, from, you know, going from the Preston game and everything that kind of happened around that to he is now our top scorer, and hopefully he keeps scoring.
Yeah, and to round things off for me, I think Morgan Whittaker, the way you get the most out of him is just keep feeding him the ball. Just keep feeding him it, play through him, and 5 times out of 10, he might give the ball away. But those 5 times that he doesn't, you might create a chance. And I hope with Hellberg coming in, it suits his game more. And the way that he just dropped into the half space yesterday and found those little pockets and was just able to try and put the ball in behind for Conway. I thought it was really bright and really clever. His movement was really solid. And I've just been trying to watch Whittaker just by himself during games, just to see what he does and where his movement is. And his movement's really clever. Like I think there is a talented footballer there. And I just think we have to make sure that we're playing him in the right way. But additionally to that as well, the person aspect of it, I think 3 managers in a year doesn't help. You move in from one part of the country to the other. He's still very young. There's so many things that can play a part in his time at Boro so far. And I think the person element of it, I think he's probably struggled to adapt a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that because it can take you about a year to really get to grips with any career change or any movements. When you change jobs, I think you always try and find it a bit difficult because yes, you are a specialist in what you do, but some clubs do things differently, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get used to that. And with all the change that we've had, I think Morgan Whittaker's suffered a little bit because of that, and also the number of rumblings that's went on. And I think it's probably played on him throughout the summer. I thought he looked sharp in pre-season, and I could start to see glimpses of what he could potentially offer. But for me, I'm absolutely thrilled for him. I think that he's done really well over the last few games. There's still some bits I'd just like to see a little bit more of, but I would love to see him like just command the ball sometimes and be like, you know what, give me this ball, I'm going to make something happen, and just let that confidence come through. Because I think there is a player there, and I think there's a player that Boro fans could be excited about in the next few months and hopefully in the seasons to come. Because
do you think he's a streaky player? He's one of those, a bit like Finazaz, where like when he gets his groove, you know, he scores and he gets those goal returns. When his confidence is off, you see him go through long periods of like games blanking and barren run and poor form. Do you think he's that kind of streaky player?
Yeah, I do, but I also think that the entire championship it's very rare now that the consistent levels of players who can be such at a high level. It's very easy as fans to say that footballers can be like cyborgs and be really consistent. And I do this a lot. I think we all do. I think even if people listen to us, they'll always say, well, that's shite. That could be better. That needs to be improved. And we look for perfection in footballers when really they're just young lads, really, and they are very, very good at what they do. Some just need an arm on them, some need a bollocking, some need X, Y, and Z, but also they don't really know. You don't really know what's going on in their personal lives as well, so that can play a massive part to it. But I agree. I think he's definitely a confidence player. So it was when I was saying to you before, I was saying, if you just keep feeding him, I think it just keeps his levels really at a sustainable level. Because I think he's a footballer that when he doesn't touch the ball for a long period, it gets a little bit cold, and
100%.
It just doesn't really click as much. But yeah, I would like to see more of Whittaker and more of like a demanding Whittaker. Just show me a bit of arrogance, you know. Kick someone if you want to, you know.
I think he wants to be. I think he wants to feel important in the team. I think he wants to feel like one of the team's most important players. And right now, he's in a bout of form where he's the one that Boro are looking at, I think, to score. And I think that will really suit him. Like at Plymouth, he was the big fish in a small pond. At Boro, he's like just another one of the fishes, really, in a bigger pond. So he's not one of the team's best players, but he's in the best form at the moment. And I think that will stand him in good stead. He needs his ego stroked, and that's not a bad thing. It really isn't. You know, people associate ego with really like arrogance and bad arrogance, but I feel like he just needs an arm around his shoulder, yes, but also he needs to feel important. I think right now he is important, and he's showing that, and I think that's why he's in such a good moment, 3-3. Hopefully he'll continue that, because yeah, I do think he's one of those players, Jonny, where confidence is a massive, massive, massive part of his game. But maybe that's just obvious, you know, with human beings, confidence plays a big part in your output.
Yeah, well, I think also people have different motivations, but 9 times out of the 10, if someone says you're doing really well and trying to build you up confidently, you're going to probably perform more regularly at a high level. If someone's telling you shit all the time, you're probably not going to take the risk, and you're going to play that safe ball. You're going to be going, actually, no, I'm going to play this back. I don't want the fans to get on me back anymore. So I think as fans, we have a bit of a point, something to play there and say, well, actually, if he does give the ball away, he gives the ball away. But at least he's trying to make something happen. It was the same with Azaz, really. Azaz was that type of player where he would try and make things happen, but then fans would just hammer him for giving the ball away. But I'd rather someone take the risk and then not come off than then not take it at all. And we need to keep doing that. And with Hellberg, I want to see more of it. And I want us to keep taking risks, and I want us to keep creating chances, because we haven't really created chances for the first 15, 16 games. Yesterday, we weren't particularly amazing at creating those openings, but we started to make those tweaks and get the ball in the right areas and to create those movements. But we have seen the first glimpses of Hellberg now, Tom. I think it's a bit early, but was there anything that caught your eye at all?
A few things, yeah. Obviously mentioned at the top of the show about the high line. You obviously mentioned we can play higher. And, you know, if we get really good at keeping possession, dominating, keeping teams in their side of the pitch, absolutely do that. With that style of play, though, I'm counting down the days until Melander lands in Teesside, and we can start playing him from January onwards, because I think he's going to be a big help in that defensive line, especially because we are apparently down to one fit centre back at the moment. There was playing between the lines a lot, which I think we have been doing a little bit more recently, and I'd actually credit more towards Vivash on that than Edwards, and I will also add getting out wide a little bit more. I think being able to be more of a threat from out wide, I think that is a good option to have in attack. And I think especially bringing Bangura into the team, it means that we've got a natural right-footed fullback, a natural left-footed fullback, can both get to the byline, can both cut it back or get a cross in. I felt like the volume of crosses yesterday was, and the volume of quality crosses, I will say as well, was better than what we've seen for a lot of this season. And then just going back to the playing between the lines bit, I think it's less direct in terms of like what we've seen at different points this season, where you've got Ayling kind of like hoofing it down the right hand side for Conway or Strelic or Centre to run onto. It's more, and I think the shape yesterday kind of helped with this. You've got Hackney and Brown playing it through those lines to Hansen or Whittaker, who can then play through the lines again. We had some quick build-up play on the edge of the box. And if we can perfect that, that'll be really exciting to watch. That's going to depend on everyone clicking and being on the same page. But from what I saw yesterday, I don't think we're a million miles away from that anyway.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to that as well, Tom, for me yesterday, the shape was probably one of the more notable things that we have done differently in previous games. It was just all around really keeping it simple, and it was more 4-4-2. Try and make sure that you keep the vertical lines there, and just try and play through the thirds. You had some really high wing backs, and you also had Hansen and Whittaker in that first half, just tucking in to those half space, that gap between the wing back and the centre half as well. You would see Derby, they were in a 4-3-3, but then they would shift to a back five, and then they would just drop into a 5-4-1 when we were in their third, our final third. And then also as well with that, in terms of the rotations, just to keep it simple, and I think the concept would be to try and keep it 4-4-2 if we need to, where you would have the fullback coming more centrally with Bangura and Britain, and then you would see the likes of Whittaker and Hansen just keep it really wide, keep it nice and stretched. So then that would be able to, one, overload the midfield, and then two, try and thread the needle and make it like that vertical pass. There was times yesterday where Boro would pass it side to side, and you would always hear the standard of sidewards, it's not going back. But you have to thread the needle sometimes in these moments, because when a team sat so deep, it's pretty pointless just to try and keep playing the ball forward. Just keep recycling the play and find that moment. And yesterday, it was all about really getting into that space between the 6-yard box and the edge of the box. and on both sides of the penalty box. And once you've got that, you can throw that ball back and then knock the ball in the back of the net, which I feel like Callum Brayton really should have with that left-footed effort. I was waiting for the net to bulge on that one. But overall, I thought we were relatively quite solid yesterday at times in the second half when we changed things. I think it was more because of Derby than ourselves. And yeah, I think for Hellberg, I think it's more so now. Keep it as simple as I possibly can. Don't overload the information, one bit at a time, slowly but surely, and just make sure that the concept would be, well, we want to get to this part of the pitch. Make sure we know how to get there. But that 4-2-2-2 shape is just all about vertical lines. It's just how do we get from defense to attack really quickly in a straight line, and that's how you do it through that system. Right, should we move on? Daniel, if you've got nothing more to add, I'm going to go over to the praise and place. Ah, yes, the praise and place, the only place I like to give praise to a player, coach, or staff member. Tom's Kim Hellberg look and Dana's Shithouse Island top. Who's in our praise and place this week? Dana, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'm going to kick things off with Red Faction. Red Faction for their pre-match T4. I saw the wiring and I was like, oh, is there a pulley system going on there? They're going to pull the T4 up, and it was brilliant. It was really good to see. A lot of time and effort has gone into that, and I know a lot of stress as well. I think that was a brilliant way to welcome Kim Hellberg to Middlesbrough. I know that the T4 itself wasn't aimed at him, but it was brilliant it would have been brilliant for him to see that. And then I also want to mention Archie Baptiste, who came on towards the end of the game, and he's a big lad, isn't he? My God, he's massive. And he came on and up against Ajimang, who I thought actually in the first half caused Alfie Jones a little bit of discomfort, obviously in the build-up to their goal. But Archie Baptiste looked very astute and competent against him, and won a few headers against him as well, one of which he celebrated, and then played captain and was ushering the defence and marshalling them, and I think that was a really good moment. Good to see that immediately Kim Hellberg brings on a youngster for his debut, something that he did a lot at Hammarby, bringing in those young players and blooding them through, and it was good to see that from Hellberg, and it was good to see that Archie Baptiste did well towards the end of the game. And then obviously Alex Bangura. I've kind of been like yesterday, I came home and I just kept going just like around the, like pottering around the house. I'm just like, I don't know, eating me granola at the end of the day, and I'm like and that wasn't even that chant wasn't even it played no part in the game. No one did the tequila chant, but I was throughout the whole of that game. So yeah, I want to put Bangura in there, and for the final time, Bangura.
I was gonna like just jump in at any random point there just to ruin that. But I held back. Tom, who's in your praise and place?
Well, just to follow on from that, I'm going to put Morgan Whittaker in mine, because I was having the same thing yesterday, but with Morgan Whittaker's song. So yeah, that was stuck in my head for most of the night. Got to put Bangura in there. Such a good performance and a complete 90 minutes at that performance level, after 25 years out or whatever it's been for him, and not get injured. Fantastic. And then yeah, I agree with what Dan has mentioned there. Red Faction definitely deserve credit for that T4, because that was fantastic. I think it's probably like create your own club thing in FIFA for me that has put that image of a T4 into my mind. So whenever anything's happened before and there's been like a press release from Red Faction saying we're doing a T4, and then it's like it didn't look like that, I was like, it looked good, but like I was expecting that. So when
you wanted the pulley, didn't you?
Yeah, when I got there and I saw all the strings, I was like, right, they're either planning some like massive puppet show, or They're doing like that sort of tifo. So I was really excited to see what was going to happen when the team started coming out.
And the
I
people
think
on the
Johnny's
roof
just
as well.
lost it.
Just like Punch and Judy just popping up on the behind the goal.
Yeah, that way. And they were on the roof.
Oh dear. I absolutely fell off that. I don't know why it caught me off guard that time. I don't know why. I guess to round off, probably I'd just I would say 85 Ash for me did excellent in his 3 games in charge. And again, set pieces yesterday led to the goals, so making that difference again. Hayden Hackney, I thought was on a one-man mission yesterday.
How did he not get booked?
He was
great question.
How did he not get booked?
He had about 4 last chances from the referee.
Yeah, he hoiked someone down. It wasn't quite Risha Littlejohn in a WSL game the other day, where she basically RKO'd someone. But he kind of slung him down, and I was like, okay, so Hackney's getting not a red card, a yellow card then. Nothing. Cheers, ref.
Yeah, well, it's about time so we're in no favour, to be honest. But also both sets of fans were again singing how shit the ref was in the first 30 minutes. So, he was got bad championship ref.
Did you just want me to say anything here? I didn't have anything prepared, but
no. No, I let off the hook this week. The referee memoirs will be out very soon for Christmas presents. Great stocking filler. So we'll move on, shall we? Let's go and do some podcast questions. IS podcast questions. Every week you get the chance to ask us a podcast question. You can email us at theborobreakdown@hotmail.com. You can tweet us at @theboro_breakdown. Follow us on Instagram, or you can subscribe to the Boro Breakdown and put it in the comments, and we'll read it out there. We are looking to hit 5,000 before Christmas. So, I mean, hey, we've got over 9,000 subscribers on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so get onto another app. I don't care if there's duplication. Who cares at this point? I just do it for my own vanity metrics. It means absolutely nothing, but I just like the number. Right, first question. It's from UTB Sedgefield. Now, I know, Dana, you are a Stranger Things fan, and Tom, you haven't watched the latest series, so there's going to be no spoilers here, but he said, where have the Demobats gone in Stranger Things? I don't watch it, so I don't know. And also, could Riley McGree feature as an 8 or a 10 moving forward? Look great today. So, Dana, do you want to take this and then dance around the lack of spoilers and then...
Yeah, I just like the fact that Tom mid-pod put no episode 4 spoilers, please, in big bold words, and just to make sure that we see it, he's highlighted it in yellow as well. So yeah, no episodes 4 spoilers for Tom. I don't know where the Demobats have gone. They've died with Eddie, I guess. But yeah, could Riley McGree feature as an 8 or a 10 moving forward? I think the good thing about McGree is he's so intelligent he could play both roles. He obviously had that role very tailored to him, that left wing role where he was roaming in the half space and central areas. So he has the ability to play both roles. I just think his position for me is further forward, playing between the lines, a little bit more advanced. So although in that game yesterday it probably lent itself to Morgan Whittaker, to Riley McGree being that number 8 because, well, we had full control. We seized the game really in terms of that. So we could play with Hackney and McGree as the pivot and not really be too concerned about counterattacks because by that point, Derby just gave up, I guess. But I think moving forward, I would probably see him as a 10. But it is interesting because obviously he came to Middlesbrough as a number 8, and I think he can absolutely play that role. Maybe you have a holding midfielder like Morris, and then the 2 in front are Hackney and McGree. I think that's entirely plausible. But for me, I'd like to see him a little bit further forward. Although he did great when he came on yesterday. Just a wonderful footballer to watch, isn't he? Just makes things look so effortless. And yeah, the guy that sits in front of my dad at the match, I don't think he's a big fan of Riley McGree, and I never understand. He always turns to me, he's like, you like Riley McGree, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I love Riley McGree. And he kind of gives me this look of like, why? I just think he's a wonderful, technically gifted, really intelligent footballer who, at his best, I think is Boro's best. And I just hope that he is another one that I really want to maintain fitness.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a McGree. And we'll.
You
we'll
love saying that.
I do. I think he's just wonderful. So the whatever they call the demo, that's a dead then. Fair enough. So I don't even know what that means, but the dead Tom, sorry. So Nicola's asked us as well, are we going to play Alej Gilbert as he's an unused sub at every match? He deserves a chance. I mean, we are playing Hull on Friday, where he did score that winner last season, which was a great memory for Matt and also for Jonny Howson as well, who was in the away end. But Tom, are we going to see Alej Gilbert or Alex Gilbert or Alex Gilbert, whatever one you call him at this point, because he's just not featuring?
Alex Gilbert, or the Brazilian regen now. I think he's on the bench because it's enforced at the moment, and I think it's the same with Mike Hamilton. I'd love to see them both get some time on and progress as players, but we are really well stocked in that attacking midfield position in particular. So I think we'd have to have a few injuries before we get to the point where Gilbert's playing.
Yeah, I agree. We are very well stocked in that position, and it's a shame, really. I think he did some really good things last year. Tidy footballer. I think he just needs minutes now. Get himself on loan or something. He just needs it to be selfish here, I think. And if he's not going to get time here, where's he going to get time? And I would be looking for something in the summer. And the same for Mike Hamilton as well. Maybe potentially he might find himself in the fold. Who knows? The next few weeks, but I think right now I'd be looking again to go on loan too. And then finally, to round things off, James asks us, what's your favourite style of IKEA furniture? For me, it has to be the Marvin Hemnes up the Boro. So does anyone have an IKEA furniture which they like? Or I mean, I can share my screen and get a few bestsellers up if anyone wants to look.
I mean, it's not furniture, but I always enjoy the Jungle Skog when I go to IKEA.
What did you just call me?
Beg your pardon.
When for any of our listeners who are also fans of Have a Word, you will find in the Jungle Skog section Peter the Have a Word snake. So I always get a laugh out of that every time I go around IKEA. But no, other than that, I don't really have a favourite style of IKEA furniture.
Yeah, I think the Calyx shelving unit is quite good as well. You know, the boxes on top of each other. I think they're a good addition to any room in the house. Anyway,
my girlfriend loves a Billy bookcase, so
well, there you go. Shout out to Billy Bookcase, whoever he is, wherever he's resident at this point. Right, speaking of bookcases, Boro travelled to Hull on Friday to play against a side who are doing very, very well this season. Brian Giles is top of the assist charts with 7, and Matt Crooks is still being the lovable tree that he is. And I don't know whether you thought always of Matt Crooks' head. There
it's always here. It's always within an arm's reach.
Say his name.
And he appears. Shout out to Matt Crooks. You know what a great
so just
human
stick
being.
him on my glasses.
Yeah, why not? I mean, your visibility when you're driving will be horrendous, Steve. But I mean, if you get
the
pulled
blue
over,
tack. Oh, I just nearly popped my lens out. There we go.
In
fact, I think I did just pop my lens out. There we go.
It looks like a Christmas decoration for glasses. Maybe that's like something that we just need to bring out. You know, like absolute pointless merchandise. Yeah,
it's gonna kick on, isn't it? This is gonna be a trend now.
You know, if you don't want referee memoirs by Tom, you can now get glasses accessories with Matt Crooks' face on it.
I actually did pull my lens out there. Anyway, carry on.
Well, you don't need them anyway. When you're recording, actually, maybe you do when you're looking at our notes. Right, prediction time. We do have an opposition show coming up most likely this week. But do we have any thoughts, feelings, emotions about the game right now? Tom, how are you feeling?
I'm thinking a draw. They had quite a good win against Stoke yesterday. They've had a decent bit of form as well over the recent weeks. So, yeah, I think it'll be a hard game going away there. 1-1 draw.
1 apiece. And yeah, for me as well, I think with Hull, they're very expansive. They're very, very expansive. If you want to make it into a basketball game, I think they will create a number of chances and put you to the sword. But I think it's a game that might suit Middlesbrough, to be honest, a team that doesn't really sit. They even will allow the space. Middlesbrough are really good at finding those spaces and really trying to create those moments. So I think it's going to be a fun game to watch, hopefully, on Friday. But then I don't know if you've got any predictions, thoughts, feelings, emotions.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. If they play expansive and Boro can try to shut them out, maybe ride their luck, because I know that they're quite potent this season, especially that Giles and McBurney link up. I think we might have good fortunes in this game. I think we might not fill our boots, but I think we could score a few goals here. So, yeah, you know what? Let me go 3-1 Boro. Let me do a Dave. My dad always predicts 3-1. And let's go 3-1. Bold, but I'm going to go for it.
Cool. I'm going to go 7-0 to Hull. Just to place our bets. Got a draw, winning a defeat here, so we'll go from there. We'll move on from that. But right, guys, thank you very much for joining me. As always, to listeners and viewers, don't forget to subscribe to the Boro Breakdown channel. Help us get found, chatted, and all that kind of fun stuff. But for right now, we're off to the races with Kim Hellberg, and the Boro are on the way up the Boro.